Welcome back to the Cross Up Podcast. My name is Alan. I'm here with the usual host. You know how it be. Um,
You know how it
Yeah.
you
goes.
know
You
how
know
it
what to
be.
do.
Do you guys have any random little tidbits of news or things you want to talk about before we get into our main topic today? I kind of looked at some stuff, but I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't look too deeply. I haven't been paying attention this week.
The only thing I saw that was astounding to me was that the what is it, Borderlands Collector's Edition doesn't come with the game.
What?
That's that's nothing new.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that was.
That's
That's
is
that's
this
that's old.
nothing
That's old news.
nothing new for them or
No,
for
nothing
like
new for
games?
nothing new for a game in general.
What name one other one?
Everyone's all in uproar about this shit. There's been other games that just came out with the collector's edition, but there's no game. This is nothing new.
Yeah,
Which
unfortunately,
one?
it's quite a few different games.
Was
There was it wasn't. I I don't think it was Final Fantasy 16. It was another game. It happened recently though. Let me see. Hold on.
Yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but this is nothing new. So I don't know why people was like, oh no, there's no game with the collector's edition. Sir, it's been happening
I
for
mean,
like a couple
yeah,
of years now.
I will say to be fair, they should probably just include the game. Like I get
So
the base
yes,
But
well,
conversation,
but
but
but yeah, of
but if
course.
they don't, it's like if you're buying collectors, it's because you want. It's not
Yes,
gonna
they
deter
should
you from
include the
getting the game.
game, but to
Yeah,
call out Borderlands 4 for not having the game,
yeah.
you might as well
Specifically, I
call
don't
out
think
every
that.
like
and they should. You should call them out. I don't understand that argument. Like, well, if you're gonna call out this one, you should call out. Yes, please call out the other ones.
Well,
100%.
yeah.
I I'm only in the mindset of like I don't think it's
Dragon
an
Age the
actual problem
Veilguard didn't
because
include the game.
yeah, but nobody likes that. That's why no one cared, right? But
But
it's like
but
to.
that's but the point is still made
Jesus
that the
Christ.
It's
games
the
come
game is
with
still
with
there. Now,
I
God
Yeah,
of
but
War,
I
God
don't
of
see.
War Ragnarok didn't come with a physical game, even though it had a steelbook cover, but it at least had the digital
mm,
code.
So it did have the game though.
It did have the game. That one did.
I
Yes.
mean,
Okay.
I
So
guess to
my
the.
sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, you good.
No, no,
You
no.
good.
But, yeah, but-
Wait, am I
Let's
going or
go.
you going?
Let's go.
Yeah, you.
okay, my whole thing is I feel it's a weird stance to take as a consumer to be like, well, look, this multi-million-dollar company has a lot on their hands. They can't include the game in every collector's edition, and if you're buying it, then you should know what you're getting into. Where you should expect more from companies. You shouldn't expect less and then be like happy about it,
Well,
or be indifferent about it. That's how things get worse when you're indifferent about conditions getting um noticeably worse, and you're just like, oh well, what are we gonna do about it? Oh well, that's just how things are. Like they are that way because you let them get that way.
yeah, to the point of something like a collector's edition, you can kind of put it in the thought of like when people have figurines.
Hmm.
It's like you can have a favorite movie or something like that that you like say you like Lord of the Rings or Harry, and there can be like a collector's figurine set for the movie. Like they're not going to give you the movie with the collector's figurine set, even though like it's related to that specific thing, because that's for the people who want the collector's stuff. So like for games, I get the base sentiment of like just put the game in there because it's a code these days. Half the time it's not even an actual physical copy. Cool deal.
Right.
But if they don't, I can understand why because it is still an extra. Like we're not old collector stuff. So like if somebody wants that, that's kind of for them to purchase. So that's
Well,
I
I
don't know.
think
I think it
I,
should be studio to studio because
I think it I
yeah.
think it's still like it's an apples to oranges thing where you like it's specifically when you talk about movies. I understand like the statement that you're trying to make. Like if I want to buy a freaking replica of Aragorn's sword, I'm not gonna expect the fucking movie with
Movie
it,
with
right?
it,
I
right?
get
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that. But this is a game.
Like I think if
It's
you're
a collector's
specifically
edition of
labeling
a
it
game.
as the collector's edition of, like as an example, because we just talked about it. Like if I see the
Mhm,
collector's edition for Borderlands 4, I'm
Mhm.
okay
mhm.
paying the $200 to $300 with everything that comes with it, but I am expecting the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point. It's like if I think again it kind of goes from company to company because some companies they do include the game. Like they're
Yeah,
like,
some
Mhm.
here's the
do,
game,
some
here's the
do.
book, here's this. But it's like that has to stay autonomous to the publisher, whoever owns that right, because that's their how they want to handle that. And plus, when it comes down to not adding the game, there is a couple of things for like how the stuff are like created, who's the shipping, like who like. There's so many
Or
other
like a third
pieces
party
about.
thing.
Yeah, like there's so many other pieces to
And
where like adding the game in takes away from something that makes this make sense from a business point. So like
And- and sorry, real quick, if people are gonna blame Gearbox for not having the game in the collector's edition, you're just ignorant.
I mean they never do it, but yeah.
They're the developer, they're not the publisher. They don't really make those decisions. They might have an
Yeah.
input, but they don't make the final say.
No,
okay,
and I
is that what you're
think,
saying? Yeah.
yeah, and I think 2K, I don't think they've ever actually given a game with any collector's edition because I think even for Red Dead, I don't know if Red Dead had. Let me see.
We can do
I
a quick
think
look.
I think Red Dead had theirs, but I think it was a digital code. I could be wrong though. It's been a while.
No, it did not.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, so it's a 2K or Take Two conversation, but
Thanks, Google. You're
Right.
the best.
yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I get the upsetness for people who want the combo. It's
I
just,
definitely do. Yeah, I definitely understand.
But at least like I
If
think with
anything-
the Borderlands one is like the Borderlands 4 one, isn't it just like 150 for all the collector stuff? So it's like not that
it's normally like 150. I think
yeah,
that's
so
the
it's
normal
like
cost for,
at
like,
least
the-
I mean like it's not including like the price of the game. Like a lot of these collector's editions nowadays that include the game are like $200-300. Like I'm okay
yeah,
if I want the Borderlands 4 collector stuff for 150, I'll just buy the game later.
pretty much. Honestly, and I guess one cool thing with that is what they could probably do, and it's just like a little business bit, is they could just discount the game for people who purchase the collector's edition.
That
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Like just
That,
doing
actually,
like
I
a
wouldn't be mad
20%.
about that. Yeah, something.
Because I don't, again, I just don't know if I can compare people deserve the game.
You know what other game didn't
Uh,
come out with the collector's edition?
Mm.
Elden Ring.
Assassin's Creed. Oh, Elden Ring. Ooh, that's.
Oh, I
Did
didn't
the
know that
collector's
actually.
edition come at the same time as the game though, or afterwards?
It came out at the same time, I'm pretty
It
sure.
came out
Same
at the same time.
I actually didn't know because I didn't
Based-
even think
Base
about
game
it.
I didn't
not
think about
included.
And again, I think it only normally comes down to a problem when it's an IP that people really care about. Then it's
Mhm.
like, why can't
Well,
we
yeah,
just? It's
it's the one
like
that gets
Everybody hyped up
attention,
for it,
right?
though. Just saying.
pretty much because again, like Veilguard, no one was like, "Oh, where's my game?" People don't want the game; they just want the
Tens of
collectors.
people were
'cause-
upset.
Tens of people were upset.
I feel bad for whoever pre-ordered the Concord collector's edition.
Oh.
Yeah, like,
I'm more upset that they took an episode away in that game series from Amazon
yeah,
to
that is
dedicated to Concord instead of
Oh
giving it
my
to another
God.
game. All right,
that could have been an Elden Ring something.
It
So
could have been
anything, I would
anything
take-
else, dude.
I
I
was
would've-
super excited seeing the Helldivers thing in there, but it was like a 20-second bit in the last episode, and I hated that. I was like, why couldn't you just give me a full episode of Helldivers or another episode of freaking Warhammer? I would like that.
That would have been
Yeah,
sick.
the Warhammer one was pretty cool. Yeah.
Any other little bit of
Anyways.
news you want to touch on before we move on?
Marathon's delayed,
Yes,
Big
officially,
surprise.
and they're hiring. By the way, guys,
and they are hiring.
Uh,
Jeremy,
yeah, they're yeah, they're hiring.
They
So a
have-
year from now, they can fire you again. So I would probably look into that.
Let me check the site, Daquan. Let me check
100%.
here.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's a good idea.
Bungie.
Hey, Bungie.net. Let's take a look.
Let's
See.
see. Where's careers at? It's down the bottom. I hate it.
Bro,
when
why are
it's
they
at the
using
bottom.
.net though? Why are they using?
Because they've had it for fucking decades and they don't want to change it.
Mhm.
It's fucking weird.
Let's see.
Community manager, operations manager. Ooh,
You
Everything is
remember
hype.
they've had .net since the Halo 2 days.
man, that's crazy.
There's nothing.
Oh,
here
there
for
it is. Marathon. Here we go.
Mhm.
Oh, this. What? What are these jobs?
They're interesting. They have senior, junior roles, a bunch of them, man.
What are the positions?
What?
Actually, there's
It-
not. But
Yeah.
They're not.
There's
I
not.
just saw it on
There's-
Twitter.
There's an activities technical director, mid to senior. a
gameplay engineer
commerce-
lead.
Yeah, gameplay engineer lead, commerce and events art lead, investment engineer lead,
Test
principal
lead.
product manager, game systems, and then meta gameplay systems.
Interesting.
What is?
Well, I like my job, so I'm not going anywhere. So
No, I see. I
Not
see.
even in your field.
They're looking for a global franchise director for Destiny 2. Oh my god. What does that even mean?
They're lost in the sauce. We're just gonna move on.
Like what? I'm gonna look at this later on.
Oh my god.
You know what?
Let me bookmark this.
If in case they randomly see this video, I will apply to you guys just so I can see what you say.
Right.
Here we go.
Oh my god.
I'll apply and then I'll update it per podcast. We'll see
Right.
what
Right.
happens.
We'll see.
Alright,
We'll see the whole
cool.
process. We'll see how long it
Yeah,
takes
we'll
them
see
for
the
to
whole
reject
process.
you or hire you.
He's gonna be
Exactly.
moving down to no wait, I was gonna say Austin, but they moved to Seattle, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
Oh no, it'll be definitely remote. I ain't moving from here. Yeah.
See, I don't have any big news. We saw 28 Years Later yesterday. That was a great movie. That was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna watch
Uh,
that.
What is
soon.
it? 1 out of 10. What do you give it?
9 out of 10.
Wow.
Okay.
It is weird. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Those movies have always been kind of weird, to be fair.
I started listening to a new podcast. It's a very short podcast. It's called The Sounds of Nightmares, which is based on Little Nightmares. So
Oh, that sounds cool.
it's pretty
Okay.
good.
Not
Pretty
bad.
good. Yeah. And then is it Tuesday yet?
No.
Damn.
Man's gonna go to Death Stranding and never show up again.
Exactly. Don't call
Oh
me.
my God.
Don't text me. I pre-ordered
Death
this. I
Stranding.
did. I got the 48-hour early access. I sure fucking
Oh
did.
my god.
I'm part of the problem. I'm telling you.
You are.
Just a little bit. But
It's
it's
okay. I am too. All I've been doing is playing Tekken and Stellar Blade. And yes, before you ask, the game is good. That's
Yeah,
all that
Tekken
needs
is
to be
great.
said.
Tekken great, yeah.
Yeah, Tekken's great.
Not bad.
So today's main topic, where we're gonna
no, look,
convene-
my man's got the Bushin. Look.
Oh, I
give a
did.
round of applause
I did get the
for
Bushin.
that.
We're out here. I'm in the top 5% of the online ranks out here. We're killing it.
Dear God.
So today's main
Oh.
topic today, we're going to be kind of talking, and I thought it was a pretty good talking point. I think we've kind of mentioned it here and there, like Jeremy and I especially. But I figured since we have Daquan and Chris here who aren't really into fighting games like we are, I think it's a good point of view and see how they feel about it. We're going to be talking about
Dare you assume.
we're going to be talking about accessibility to fighting games, because honestly, whenever you see a new game being released, there's usually a system or a mechanic or inputs that are kind of more catered to casuals to try to get them into the series to hopefully keep them in long term. You see them everywhere. It's what most developers are talking about when they are getting interviewed, especially for their games, to talk about them, especially as they're announced. So I figured let's kind of give a little quick rundown of probably one of the more recent accessibility options, and we'll see how Chris and Taquan feel about it. So obviously, like the bigger one, Street Fighter 6 has the modern command input. It's a very simplified input where you get one button specials, one button supers, you get auto combos. It basically helps new players not have to go over the whole system of learning command inputs like quarter circles, half circles, the Z motion for DPs and things of that nature. And so that's an example. Tekken even has their special system, which has like one button combos. It has lows. You can do your heat burst, your rage art with one button as well. It's a very, obviously both of these are very like run down versions of the game you're playing, because you like as an example, there's certain moves on modern that you don't have access to, whereas like if you just played classic and Street Fighter, you would have access to. And same with Tekken, there's certain buttons that you're not going to have access to if you're just using the special system. And then like you have auto combos, right? Auto combos obviously aren't in the game for fighting game veterans like the rest of us. Like Dragon Ball Fighters, Grand Blue, they have auto combos already embedded in their normal control scheme despite not giving you simplified inputs. Like if you just mash the light button on Dragon Ball Fighters, you get a full combo. And another example is obviously like Guilty Gear Strive and Skullgirls have like trainings and combo trials, and a lot of these games nowadays, especially modern ones, have really good practice room and like replay systems that really try to help you understand the game. And I think I'm not super familiar with Street Fighter yet, because I only really play that super casually, and I only just go into ranked with a character I like and just have fun. But Tekken has a really good online replay system where it shows you command history. It also shows you all of your move startup frames, if you're plus or negative on block or on hit, and see what you can do. But also, whenever you're like, let's say you're in a situation where you're just getting like bombarded by a bunch of buttons and you don't know what to do, the replay system will tell you like, hey, you can duck here. This is punishable by doing this. You can do this. And basically it does a really good job of teaching you what to look out for and how to solve it. And it also has a really good thing where you run into something and you're like, I want to practice that. You can just hit the A button or the X button if you're on PS5 and you can train it and it'll just keep doing it over and over again, just letting you know like, hey, do it now. So you can kind of get the muscle memory and your brain to recognize what's happening.
One
And
thing I
so-
want to add to that.
Yeah.
So Versifier also has a replay system.
Yeah.
And there's a feature in that I would like to have in Tekken where you see the match, but you can slow it down.
Oh yeah, there's a slowdown
That,
function.
that's pretty damn cool.
And
I
then
wish they would add that in Tekken 8.
And then obviously, like I think Street Fighter also has a really good because that game is a little bit more stringent. Stringent? I don't think that's the
Stringent.
word. Stringent. That's the word. I just pronounced it wrong. On input like timings, and so what Street Fighter 6 does in their training mode, you can have a little bar above your head that fills up and goes down based on your startup frames and then your recovery frames. So it shows you like when you're green, you can press a button again. And so it shows you when you should be pressing the button in combos or strings, or when you can cancel special moves and things like that. So it's more tools to teach you how to play the game, as well as like I think Street Fighter 6's World Tour mode is one of the best newcomer modes in any fighting game. It's a pretty okay story mode, to be honest. You're just kind of getting introduced to the characters. You do little menial tasks here and there. You get to know them a little bit, kind of see what their personality is like. But they kind of gamify and give you like an RPG system to try to learn how to play fighting games, how to do these inputs, how to play them against the NPCs. And I think it's one of the reasons Street Fighter 6 is so successful. And a lot of people tend to gravitate towards that game, other than obviously it looks great in motion. It's a lot of fun to watch. But I think having those types of game modes or story modes kind of gets the casual audience to at least try the game.
From my experience from playing 2D and 3D fighting games, it seems like 2D fighting games have a better way of teaching players how to play the game.
Yeah.
Unlike even Versifier has a good way to teach people how to play the game. But Tekken, for some reason, Tekken has historically not have been like a beginner friendly game. They don't really teach you how to play the game.
And there's
and when they do
no
try to teach you, it's not very. I don't know. It's just not very streamlined. To me.
well,
Do
they
you
also
think-
don't teach you
Sorry.
like yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, do you think it maybe has to do with it being like, didn't it start as an arcade fighter?
Yeah, a lot
It
of these
did.
games did.
You did, yeah.
So like,
And this game is
it's
very
not-
legacy, and it's a very old man.
Yeah.
game.
No.
It is a very old
It
man.
it is. We call it an old man game.
I was just thinking like it's kind of hard to have like a manual for an arcade game that you can only be at for so long type thing.
Yeah, because I know like it kind of sucks because Tekken also doesn't really like they have that new game mode where you're playing in the Tekken Lounge, where you have that like weird story mode where you're like climbing through the arcades and challenging people. They kind of teach you how to play the game, but like Guilty Gear and Skullgirls, I know for example, have like actual tutorials where they teach you how to dash. They teach you how to dash in the air, how to block, how to do like everything by giving you the input and having you like do little trials and like little things that you have to try out. So it's at least teaching you the very basics, which I don't even think Tekken does very well.
Gotcha.
Now it's been a while since I've done the little arcade Tekken Lounge story mode thing. I only did it when the game first came out, so I don't know how in depth that game really gets and how well it teaches you. So I could be wrong. Maybe it does a little bit better than I think, but I think it's kind of also like maybe some people don't want to deal with it. Like they'd rather go into practice room and just have like tutorials set to teach you how to play. Like even Under Night and Birth and Melty Blood teach you like super basic things like how to dash, what buttons do what, and then like they then teach you combo routes from like specific moves. Like again, it's not going to teach you every little bit about the game, but they do a pretty good job of at least explaining the very basics, and then you just have to kind of play and figure it out for yourself, like most
think you-
fighting games.
I think you need to do that arcade story thing for Tekken 2 unlock Ghost mode.
Yeah, ghost mode. Yeah.
Why? I don't know.
So it has all these systems, and like I said, at least from my perspective, I don't know how well they're really working out. I know certain systems work better than others. Like I know there's like I've seen on Reddit and I think a little bit on Twitter. I don't have the exact post pulled up. That's on me. But I've seen a lot of people actually enjoy the game through Street Fighter because of the modern mode. They get to play automatically. They don't have to sit there and practice combos. They just have to find out what buttons do what, and then they kind of learn how to play the game by just going in there. And some people just like to mash the buttons, so they kind of at least get to enjoy the game because even though they're just mashing, their character's still doing cool shit on screen. So, and I think that's one of the things that at least Tekken has kind of right. Like if you go in there and kind of mash, there's certain characters that you can't really do that on. But even you mashing like not in the special mode, sometimes you can do cool shit and it just kind of happens. Um so I don't know. Like I think they do an okay job of maybe getting some people to at least try the game, but I don't think those systems are, at least from my perspective, I could be wrong, necessarily keep people long term.
Mm,
What you got?
I guess I don't know. It's kind of like a toss up for the feeling of like what people find the fun in.
Mm.
Because to the point of like the Dragon Ball Fighters auto combo or like the auto combo stuff. I think giving those options to less experienced players, I think is fine. For the fact of it can be more fun just not getting whooped repeatedly because you can't do the inputs as good as somebody else. But also, I think the way that Street Fighter handles it for like you can have like the two different variants. I think that's probably the best way to go about it. Like I think having the other option keeps the other players around.
Yeah.
Uh, because if you want to go against your friend who's like a really good fighting game player, but you're like, man, every time I get beat because I can't do quarter circle, up, down, left, right, or you'll stay engaged as long as you can remember back X, top triangle, back
Right.
circle. Like that's keeping your the monkey brain in it. Like yeah, we got this. So I think I don't know. I think it can be good long term, but it normally comes down to is the game kind of the I won't even say the aesthetic, but is the game what you actually want to be playing? Because
Yeah.
that's the other bit of like who is actually trying to play the game. Because if you have somebody who's normally playing tactics games and they come to play a fighting game, doesn't matter the amount of input accessibility you make it, they're probably not.
Because I think
Yeah.
already,
So
like, I think one of the things that kind of rubs people the wrong way, and it could just be, again, this is my perspective. This is why it kind of annoys me when like accessibility becomes the main focus because it becomes kind of apparent. They start kind of not focusing more on like the higher end level of skill, or they don't think of that shit kind of long term, in my opinion. Like as an example, the simplified inputs of like Grand Blue, I don't mind. Even I use them because it lets me play a bunch of different characters without having to really worry about motion inputs, even though they're all kind of the same. But I have them on because I sometimes in a combo out of habit I'll still do the motion input, and so I use both in a match because you can have them
Yeah.
technical inputs put in, but you can also turn them off. So that's why with Grand Blue
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mind, and I even have my friend who picked up a stick from me and I sold it to him because he wanted to, for whatever reason, learn a fighting game through the stick and not a controller. He was trying to like torture himself to practice these motions, and I told him, hey, with Grand Blue, just use the simple inputs. Like it's fine. Like learn how to play the game. Learn your basic combo with whatever character you like using the simple inputs. And as you feel more comfortable with the systems in the game, you can start throwing in motion inputs and then see how it feels. Because I think that's like a good way to do it. But I don't like having like, for example, 2XKO. I didn't love only simple inputs, and then like when I played the open beta or closed beta, it was like double down and then a button for super. I think when you start kind of doing that kind of stuff, it takes away from some of the fun in fighting games, because I kind of do like motion inputs. It might be like an old head fighting game thing because I've kind of lived with them my whole life. It adds kind of like some spice when you're playing the game. Like I kind of like having that moment of panic when you fuck up an input and then you can get blown up for it or you do something else. Again, that's a personal thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like the risk reward attached to the
Yeah.
skill association is less of just do you feel good about it? Like how did I get to getting like
Yeah.
the feel good? Okay.
Because I think it already takes a special kind of person to really kind of commit to fighting games.
Yes, it does. Let me tell you.
And like, don't get me wrong, like there's plenty of people that are probably willing to give them a shot, but
Mm.
like controls aside, like a lot of people claim that like fighting games are super hard, but inherently they're not that hard. Like they're not harder than any other game you've played. The only reason it appears hard is because they've never played a fighting game before, whereas like they've been playing shooters and shit their whole life.
I don't know about that. Only for the feeling of
N-
the biggest reason the FPS and like action genres like God of War, Elden Ring, or COD or whatever, they're easier to. I think inherently they're easier to learn and harder to master versus fighting games, they are harder to learn. But like once you learn it, then it makes sense. So like it's that, but then like you get, like I mentioned, you get games like Dragon Ball Fighters where like it's a lot easier to learn, which inherently then flips that formula around. So most people want to hop in and be like, I press these buttons and this thing happens. But in fighting games, it's this combination gives you this thing that you would normally think is simple.
See, I get where you're coming
So
from, but in my head, right, like for me to learn, like let's assume I'd never played a shooter before. What's the thing you have to learn? Movement, how to aim, how to shoot and reload, right? It's just a bunch of buttons and then you start running around. And trust me, you look at anyone that's never touched the controller in their life or played video games in their life, it's hella
Yep.
stiff. They stop moving to aim, and it's all super slow. It's the exact same thing when they come to fighting games. They're just not used to it because they've never played them before or they don't have a lot of experience before. But realistically, it's what? It's 4 to 6 buttons, punches and kicks, and you move around with the left stick. It's not any harder to learn. Just the little bit of entry that's harder than maybe what you would consider to get an okay level of an FPS is motion inputs, whereas some games don't have them. I can then take that as like, yeah, that's obviously harder to learn up front. But I think once you get the basics down, even if it takes a little longer with fighting games, the level or the quote unquote effort to get good at the game like you would at an FPS isn't that much harder once you learn the basics.
Again, I think it's a little different because like even for shooters, you only are concerned about like two things. You're concerned about distance and you're concerned about ammo.
It
So
depends
it's like
on
the
what you're playing.
primary. I mean, yeah, but like, and I guess like when I'm talking about like what makes a shooter is like the combination of there is a resource and there is a target. So like, use resource to eliminate target. That's like the basis of like the FPS. Like,
Right,
granted,
right.
you have
But I'm also
stuff, you
looking
got
at
like
it. I'm also
modifiers.
looking at it as like the popular shooters now that are like what people are playing. Like,
I mean, yeah,
yeah, like
no.
Fortnite would maybe be like slightly easier if you play no build. But like Call of Duty,
Mhm.
those motherfuckers are on crack running around, slide canceling everything. Like that's already a massive gap to get like
well,
competitive
well,
online
even then, we're
even.
talking about like tech
Yeah,
outside of
crazy.
Yeah,
the
well,
core.
that's the difference between you getting good at a fighting game or a shooter. Like I think it's the same level.
Crazy
Well-
enough, I slightly breaking news, right? I slightly agree with the Quan. Because
Oh.
in a fighting game, you have to worry
Yep.
about round start, the timer, where you are in the level, how much health you have, what combo route to take. The crowd yelling behind you. Is your audio? Is your controller working? Is your audio working? All these things can affect any part of the game.
In a competitive level, but what about at home? You're just chilling and your controller does
I
work.
mean, it can still
Well, yeah.
impact you.
It can still
even
have
at
an
home,
impact,
man.
but like
degree.
again, I'm looking. Okay,
It
so
can impact
as
you.
an example,
But
yeah,
at a competitive standpoint,
Well, yeah, in a competitive standpoint, it's also different because, like, let's be honest, in an FPS, unless you're an actual pro, you're not going to be able to experience the tournament scene like in a fighting game.
Right.
But like
just
at home, like let's say as an example, you're playing a fighting game at an okay level, not even intermediate or like we are. You're just logging in. You have your buttons. You maybe have one or two combo routes, and then you just go in there and play. And all you need to learn to get better is experience. Call of Duty,
All right.
it's pretty much the same thing. You have your controller. Guess what? You're now starting, depending on the game mode you're playing. If it's team deathmatch, you're now running around, having to find out where people are coming from. Are they above you, behind you? Are they around you? You're using sound. Now you have to learn respawn points. Domination's the same thing. Oh, I took their base. They're now on the other side of the map. It's the same level of information.
Point,
Well,
yeah.
Well, Chris, you go ahead and then I'll go after you.
Yeah, just real quick to touch on that, like playing at home bit. I think at least when it comes to fighting games, I think everyone here can agree that playing against bots gets pretty boring really quickly. Like when
Mhm.
you're just playing by yourself, not playing online. And I think that's where you see people drop off because if I'm trying to learn the game, let's say it's a brand new fighting game that I'm trying to learn, obviously I'm gonna go in there and play against the computer, get a feel for the controls, get comfortable with it, right? I can only see people doing that for so long before they get bored, and then you run into the next biggest problem with fighting games, which is the community. The second you start playing online, let's say the game is still trying to figure out, hey, where are you supposed to be? Let me throw you some random matches. Let's see where you're supposed to be. If you go in there and get just absolutely destroyed, you are less likely to come back and do another match because maybe the next match will be better, maybe it'll be worse, maybe it'll be the same. But less people are likely to come back after getting their butts kicked in because of how hard the fighting game community goes when it comes to the game that they like. If they like that game, they're going to be on it, playing online constantly, and it's really hard for somebody that has no experience with it to go in there. And even if you are just at home chilling by yourself saying like, hey, let me come on, let me play this game for a little bit, there is such a barrier to entry to that even if you wanted to just play against bots, you're going to get tired of that, you're going to get bored of that. There's no reason for me to dedicate my time to playing against bots to try to get better at a game that I'm less interested in each day.
And I mean, I can
Yeah.
agree where that's coming from because obviously, like everyone runs into that at one point or another. But I think
Yeah.
they're just forgetting that that's maybe I just don't think that's the right mindset, and that's where people are going wrong. Now, I don't mean like in the sense like you should take value in getting your ass beat because you can learn from it. No, fuck that. Like for a new player, that doesn't mean shit, right? Like I mean from the mindset of hey, you're not going to be that good of a game that you barely have any experience in versus like a game you've been playing your entire life, whether that's RTSs, MOBAs, shooters. Like you guys, you don't realize like when you were younger, you were the ones getting shit on until you got better because you just played a shit ton. And I think that's where people nowadays aren't realizing when they go into a fighting game or like a MOBA, because some people go into League of Legends and they get shit on, or they go into Marvel Rivals, like hero shooter, not understanding elevation or team comps. Like these are all barriers of entry that every game has, and it's not inherently harder just because you have less experience with it. You're just not in the right mindset.
Well, the other part to this, for like again me making the statement of
Right.
like the barrier for fighting games are just that much harder because everything is your fault, right? Like you don't go into a fighting game and say, "Oh, I lost because." It's like, no, you lost because you are not as
Oh
good as the
no.
person
Yeah, fighting
across from
games
you.
are the biggest ego
Which
check in any medium.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're
which
gonna
inherently goes against the concept of fun in like a general aspect. Like when people hop on to something like an FPS, like we use Call of Duty as example. Yeah, there's some weirdo using the Omni movement, and they're like 360 shotgun, pull out a pistol, shoot a guy in the water, and then throw a throwing knife, and it's just like, what did I just watch? I am like, what just happened here?
right.
But like at the end of the day,
It's a
there are
team-based
teammates
game.
around
Yeah.
you and they can still go and you can still win this. Like you can still have fun even if you aren't performing at your best. And when you're asking those people, and then again, no one's telling them to come to these,
Right.
but like if you're trying to get the people involved, you want to give them a better chance at being successful at enjoying it, not being competitive, not being great, just like if you touch this, do you feel like you had a fighting chance? And most of the time, the answer is no. Because, like you mentioned, the people that really love fighting games, they're sitting here like, I'm playing. What's that annoying character that like gets health? Is it Yoshimitsu? What's his name?
No, it's
If
June.
you
It's
if
June.
you run in June, if you run into one of these characters and somebody plays them like, so they've been playing them since like
Well.
Tekken 2 or something, right? They've been
Yeah.
playing them since the conception of this character, and you run against somebody like this randomly online, and you're not even in competitive, by the way, which is another conversation. You're not even in the ranked modes of this
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
You
no,
just
no,
run into
no.
one of them.
Yeah.
And you get mollywopped, bro, you are uninstalling. You might punch your TV. You might throw your controller. But like, if somebody sniped you from across the map in COD, you just respawn and then you try to find it.
Yeah.
And that's
So-
it.
And
It's
like,
like, oh,
So-
yeah,
we're
go
not
find
saying
it.
we're not saying that
Yeah.
those reactions are valid
Yeah.
or that
No.
those reactions
just
are
how people
appropriate.
are.
It's just exactly.
Correct.
It's just
So
how
the
people
reason I
are.
wanted to bring this up, I mean, like obviously I still believe in what I said, right? I'm still not going to change my mind on that. But the reason we brought it up is so you guys can see where the general populace is, because you guys obviously feel the other way. So my
Yeah.
question is, why are the developers so focused on getting a community that realistically isn't going to stick around? Because no matter how easy you make the barrier to entry, the level to get better is still the same.
They're not going
So real quick, Dequad, I want to touch on your Yoshimitsu thing. Health,
Oh.
health
It got nerfed. He's about to give this whole fucking TED talk. It got nerfed, so it's nowhere near as strong. So he's not
look,
the problem.
nerf
Yeah.
or not, he can regain health, and it still wouldn't matter if he's getting his ass whooped.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Only-
Well, yeah,
the,
yeah,
only,
yeah.
the only time it could be like even a factor in the game is if it's like 10 seconds left,
Mhm.
some shit happens, and the opponents are like this far away. There is a chance that he can get health back, and you're just sitting there like, I forgot he can get health back,
Yeah, and then he wins. Yeah.
and then he wins.
Pretty much, yeah.
You can ask Sheila about that. So,
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, the bit for like adding all this stuff in, and you know,
It's obviously
people
for the
pretty much-
initial sales and stuff like that.
Well, it's because it's difficult to maintain. Like even let's think about Mortal Kombat 1. Like this isn't confirmed, but I've just done some poking around to look at people's look at the financial conversations.
Right.
MK1 kind of released a bit quick compared to like the normal time scale that they do for like the Mortal Kombat games. But when you look at that, it's like, oh, there is a community that's dedicated, and we're going to put this game out here. But if you also look at WB, they have a whole bunch of flops. So they're going to take the thing that is like, oh, people will buy this. But at the same time, if this is our guaranteed money maker, it also has to offset for the rest of these products. Because we can try some stuff, but guaranteed, we can put out a shitty FPS, we can put out a garbage battle royale, we can do weird action adventure, nobody cares. But a fighting game, that community is buying this product. So if they know there is a group that will go ahead and do that, it just makes all the more sense to say, okay, well, what if we opened it
Oh.
up to those other people?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just because you have a guaranteed purchase, which
Right.
is like weird to say about fighting games, but like
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat's
the
one of
fighting
those.
game community, yeah, and it's one of those, which is why it's like now considered the casuals thing. It's like, oh, if you're a casual player and you want to play a fighting game, give Mortal Kombat. Like here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Do
Mortal
these
Kombat.
things.
Okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. There's
But,
no
I mean-
reason to appease the people that are already gonna buy it. You wanna
Exactly,
try
they're
to go
already
after the
gonna
people
buy
that
it.
Aren't.
And so that's
100%, like
always
it-
been my thing. Like obviously with Mortal Kombat, obviously there's that. Like people are gonna buy it anyways. But with these other ones, like if we're being completely honest, right? Like some people will buy fighting games not because of the controls they're advertising or the accessibility. Some people might. Don't get me wrong. There are people, and I'm not trying to discount those people that are like playing Street Fighter because of the modern aspect, because they don't have as good use of their hands. They have a physical disability. I'm not talking about
Right,
them. I'm talking about the casual player base that they're strictly adhering or targeting and adhering to. Like a lot of those people aren't going to buy the game because it's a fighting game, or two, they're going to play it week one and then never touch it again. So why
So
are
I
we
guess-
focusing so much on them?
So I guess what you're saying is like not necessarily the accessibility, which is like making it easier, but you're talking
Right.
about like ease of use of the game.
Yeah, it's like
itself, right?
ease of use, and then because of that, they're taking away a lot of the complexity or even uniqueness of fighting games. Like this has been happening over
Would
the
you-
last 5 years.
Would you be more open to it if it was like literally a toggle of like on and off? Or would you feel it's an unfair advantage?
No, I
that, let's say, you
actually-
turn it off. And
No, I
somebody
actually
else
don't have a
doesn't?
problem with the accessibility itself or even the easier inputs. Like I'm all for it if it gets people into the series, because I think
Mhm.
fighting games are some of the most fun people can have once they get that initial entry out of the way. But my problem is a lot of the times we lose interesting, complex characters, ideas, and mechanics for ease of use, and that's where I have my issues. Or
I guess-
balancing of a game tends to skew more towards the casual and getting rid of like the things that make the game fun or interesting for
Gotcha.
this community that's not staying around.
I guess for the first part, at least for the first part of your statement, my question is, how do you know that you're losing out on stuff by the time the game comes out? How do you know that because of these
We don't know
features,
right
you
away.
missed-
If it's a
right.
brand new game, we don't know. But if it's
Yeah.
like changes that are being made to a game already out, it's pretty apparent really quickly.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, for a brand new game, you're right. We don't know. So we got to wait till like a beta comes out or we try it. But a lot of the times, because we haven't had one yet, we haven't really had a game that's made like ease of function or ease of use. And then like it doesn't like die off in the mid to high range, or like there's other issues with the game.
Yeah. By the way, to answer the thing about why they're appealing to the casual people is because the casual people are who's actually funding the studios.
Yeah, no, I mean it's
Like-
where all the
like-
money comes from.
Yeah, and like for the idea of like, oh, we're gonna pull out a new skin for this, or we're gonna have a game that looks like this. That's 100% not for the fighting game community. Like,
No,
even
and
for
I'd
gaming.
rather them just, and like I know a lot of people hate it, but like let's be honest, I'm one of those people that really likes customizing my character and making them look like I'll spend money on skins and cosmetics. I'd rather you just shove more of those in my face than like try to like not ruin the game, but like make it
Yeah.
worse by trying to make it easier.
Well, again, like to that point is like they have to for the audience that are actually going to purchase, because no one's gonna buy stuff for a game that they hate playing.
Right.
Yeah.
So like if it's like, oh, I get on this game, I suck at all fighting games and I'm not the best. All of a sudden Mortal Kombat 1 comes out and it's got a little bit easier so and so. They got cool assists and I do love Scorpion, so I'm going to go and get, the Scorpion pack or whatever. Like the average fighting game fan, like the person that actually loves the fighting game, they can play these games without getting the skills. They can play the games without having to get all the different variations. Everybody, it's like I get to compete and win, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
But then the casual, they're looking like, man, I'm kind of tired of looking at this skin. Like in Destiny, they got all these skins, and Call of Duty got all these skins, and Fortnite, I got all these skins. So like, if it wasn't for that economy with those people injected, like fighting games wouldn't be able to be iterated. So like you almost can't have the games you love without the
Yeah.
casual audience, which sounds very bad to say out loud.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Also, the you're kind of cutting out just a bit.
I'm cutting
Really?
out.
Yeah, at least for
Oh.
me. I don't know if it's
Oh.
pressure in my notes.
It's
Is
okay.
that
I mean,
bad?
we're getting most of it. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that better? Do I need to be?
No, you're
close?
back up, dog.
He said,
We're not. We're not trying to get a fucking forehead cam.
Yeah. It's about
But
to
yeah,
pull out, you got any games
I-
on your phone?
Yeah.
games together. Yeah.
And the reason I say like, because obviously like I'm fully aware like these people and like they're fund any game, they're the reason. But like especially with like Street Fighter, you can make an argument there's probably like an actual really big casual player base. But you have games
100%.
like Tekken, even maybe Uni and Melty Blood. Like I can't imagine there's that many like casual, like there's that big of a casual audience. Like I could be wrong. I don't know the full numbers, obviously.
I doubt that there's casuals like that
Yeah.
many casuals. The casuals are going to the big names, so the big three is probably what they're swinging on.
Like Mortal Kombat for
Unless-
sure.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and they'll dabble in Tekken if like the art style is cool enough, or they see like a
Yeah.
character with. That's like with is that the thing with the Eddie, where
Yeah.
they gave Eddie that weird haircut.
They gave him the Killmonger
Hunger.
cut. Yeah.
They gave me. As much as people was looking like, why do we keep doing this? It's like the casual audience was like, Killmonger, let's purchase, just because they're promoting. Also, if I'm correct, he didn't show up until like the other DLC, but he was on the cover for the game.
I don't think
Like, he
he's
was
on
there.
I don't think he's on the cover, but he was like before the game was announced. They announced the opening like cinematic, and then he was immediately announced as the first character on the DLC.
Mm.
He came
you-
out like 2 months after the game came out.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm about to say, I remember seeing all the promotion for this, man. I look like, yo, he ain't even out yet. Like, how is he all over the place? But yeah, it's a weird little setup. Like I get why it's there, but to the point I think it should be toggleable to where it doesn't ruin the hardcore fans experience. But then you're also opening up to like double the work for a developer. Like
Yeah.
how easy should this input be? How like now we got to design like 3 different variations of each input and
Yeah.
have all
That,
those other passes. Is just
that's what that was what I was going to point out. Like a lot of it, it's probably going to come down to how much are we spending on versus how much we're getting back for
yeah.
what we're spending time on, right? Because like I doubt and even if like the developers themselves wanted to go that route, you got the publishers you got to deal with, you got lawyers you got to deal with, you got marketing people that you got to deal with. I'm sure they get told at some point or other like, hey, this is not worth the time. Like it's let's focus on this because numbers show that this is going to be a lot better for us down the road or whatever.
I don't know how true that may be because, like, as an
I have no
example,
idea.
Street Fighter 6's modern is probably done the best that we've ever gotten. It's super simplified inputs. You just lose certain specific moves you can't do in like you would do in classic. And the only balancing that's done versus classic and modern is modern because of the simpler inputs, it does less damage. But you have access to all their special moves and everything in simple inputs.
Gotcha.
Random, but don't look in the chat.
Oh my god. I'll look at it in a bit.
um, yeah, I mean the damage conversation is cool too, but that also comes in with the thing of it's adding that extra work, which when you
Mhm.
start talking about the ROI, like is it really going to be that big of a I almost
Of
feel
a
as if
return.
well I mean like as far as your time invested, because that's kind of more of the conversation with these games. Because the more time you spend on the accessibility, the less time you have to work on the actual like framework of the product and like really getting what you need to make it be what it needs to be. I think if there's like a clear concept of who it's for when the game is put together, you get a better feeling experience versus I think the issue that we are looking at now is they're making the game base for the core group, but then adding the accessibility layers on top of it. Saying
Mhm.
like, okay, well, we have the core, but now let's make it an easy version or more let's say, okay, well, here are our base inputs, start, chipping away at this thing, and then that creates like a weirdness where like you have these damage modifiers rather than like the actual inputs and how stuff is done themselves being just like, okay, well, let's do a bonus for when you do successful combinations. Like then that goes over to the hardcore players looking like, okay, so the more complete of a combo I do, the higher the damage multiplier, the higher the damage string, versus saying like, here's easy inputs, but you do less damage. Like that sounds like a reverse engineering of something that was existing,
Mhm.
versus like it just feels like it all works together. Which again is I don't think there's an easy solution because these
No.
companies have like again their publishers to deal with. They got deadlines. They got all the different chefs in the kitchen while they're trying to put together one of the most difficult products to make. People say like
Yeah.
MMOs are the most difficult. No, it's not. A fighting game is probably the most difficult game you can put together. Like it is. If you don't do it right, it's done.
Right.
Like it's done.
Yep.
There's no redemption arc. It's just you're done. So I
Chilo, you have a point on here that says compare modern versus classic controls.
Yeah.
So I found a picture. I think it is from their Twitter, but I couldn't find the original post.
Yeah.
no, you
So
mean X? I mean it's from the X.
whatever it's who the fuck whatever it's fucking called these. I don't know. Classic controls, 75.6% people. This is from like a year ago. Use classic controls.
Yeah.
24.1% uses modern controls, and then 0.3 uses dynamic.
Fucking dynamic.
Dynamic is crazy.
Are they seeing
Dynamic
that
is
sample size,
yeah.
or is that just like
Dynamic.
officially their source?
I think it's officially theirs. I could be
Yeah.
wrong though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
it came from their
Their Twitter.
wherever they published that, but yeah.
And then even at
Oh.
like tournaments, you'll see players like that use modern quite a bit every now and then.
Mm. I mean, those numbers make sense because like the
Yeah.
amount of people that stick around, I think the retention rate for fighting games is less than like 18%. So
Mhm.
it makes sense. Whoever does stick around, most of them are the ones using the traditional, which is again like when you develop a game for the traditional, but then add layers, then you get those type of numbers.
Yeah.
And I think it's
Which
also
is
like I think also my issue with that kind of stuff is not just for fighting games but gaming in general. Um
I was hoping you'd say that. I have
yeah,
something to talk about.
I hate the dumbed down and ease of playing these people are doing for like this audience. Like as an example, Armored Core nerfed. Oh, we lost Daquan. There he is. He's back.
bro. My internet, I don't know what just happened. I have no idea what this
It
is.
just fucking dipped out for a second.
Yeah, it's like we're gone. I'm like, I didn't realize what we signed up for. Let's try this again.
All right, so as an
Let's
example,
try this again.
Armored Core, the tutorial boss, quote
Okay.
unquote, like the prologue boss, the helicopter,
Mhm.
I think 2 weeks in, maybe not even a month, got nerfed because journalists and other people were saying the game was too hard. That took me 2
Yeah.
tries. I died once because
Yeah.
I didn't know how my sword functioned, and then I figured it out, and then I beat it on the second try. Like,
See,
and again,
Yeah.
I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm probably better than the average player, and it's, I'm not part of that, the one asking for it. But I think if you're making a game, especially a game like Armored Core, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, like that level of difficulty
Mm.
comes with the territory. Like, if you're going in and then complaining the game is too hard, you can either learn to get better at the game and try to play it, or it's not for you and you can just say
Or
it's
leave
not
it.
for me. Yeah. And I don't
Very
like
much.
the nerfing of these types of things. Like there are times where something gets nerfed because it was like legit like unfair or wasn't balanced properly. That's different than making like a boss easier to fight or do less damage because it was too hard by
Yeah.
the populace. Like I think
Uh,
that in inherent
you-
is like a problem in the gaming sphere.
Would you feel different about it if, like, let's say specifically with that situation, they came out right before the nerf and they were like, hey, here are the numbers of how many people are going past this level and how many people are stuck at it.
I think
And
if it's
if they
less
showed you the
than
numbers, if they showed you the numbers, would you feel better about it, or would you be like, that's still not enough? That's not justifiable enough.
I think it would depend on how much of the player base is actually getting stuck there. Like, I think if we're talking about like 80-90% aren't making it past, then clearly there's something there. Because again, I'm not the average gamer. So, but I do think like, I mean, like, I didn't think it was that hard. I think that you can just learn to get better at the game.
Well, I think it does come down to being like subjective, right? It
Right? It's
could
super
be, but
subjective.
we might just be too close to that to the issue to see it, and like, to see the forest past the trees type of situation. Is like the issue that I have regarding like gaming in general is how hard game companies cling, and I don't know if it's them or what it is exactly, but they cling to the last generation of consoles so much. And I know it has to do probably with like the number of people that are still using it and the number of people that are online. Like I can understand that, but I still get irked by it when I hear, oh, we could have made the map bigger or we could have added more to this story, but we have to make it
For like the
reasonable for the last
PS4 or
generation.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what? And then it's not just this generation. They've done it for every generation, but
I mean,
specifically
like,
that where I'm
remember
just
when
like,
Cyberpunk was still trying to be made for the PS4 and Xbox One?
yeah, I'm just like, at some point, I'm sure there's a number somewhere out there where they're like, okay, now we can cut it off. The user base has dipped below this number. Let's go ahead and cut it off. But that's just what irks me. That's my point on it.
I was gonna mention for the case of like the user difficulty, this is again like that architectural conversation for how the game is actually designed. For something like Elden Ring or Armored Core, I don't think you should ever be touching the characters or the enemy's health or their damage.
Yeah.
Because like when you design your golden path of you should go from here to here to here to here to complete this, there is a curve of knowledge that's added to those games, which to your point earlier, if you don't vibe with it, just leave.
Yeah.
Those are the type of games that they're known for. But a company, and I hate to actually say this, that did like one of the best examples of actually doing this correctly is actually Bungie with Destiny. So like inherently transforming their Halo conceptions over to being what like Destiny ended up being, that is like the proper way to handle. We are going for accessibility and mastery in the same location. Um,
Yeah.
But again, like it takes a crazy undertaking and like clear
yeah.
direction to try to handle that. And there are very few studios who can actually pull that off. So
Like even
that's
recently, LICP nerfed like basic enemy damage because it was taking off. Now this I kind of understand. These
Yeah.
enemies in this DLC took off like a quarter of my health, bro. This is one. This is one little zombie. This one little. This one little
Meanwhile,
dude.
I would have went in there, gotten hit, and been like, "Damn, I guess I can't get hit," and then move forward.
Yo.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
pretty
just
much.
again, it just depends on the type of person you are, I guess.
I think I've never been a fan of of nerfs being the first instinct versus
Yeah,
let's look at
above.
some buff or even just like
Look at it
some sort of mechanic or something.
contextually or
Yeah,
something else.
yeah. Nerfs being the first instinct when it comes to something being difficult has always rubbed me the wrong way. In
Yep.
any game, in any game.
This is why people like Borderlands. Their option is normally buff.
Yeah, the
Oh, they
option
do
is
too much
usually buff.
Not buff at all. Give everybody this.
It's like, oh damn, they're getting one shot by this boss. Just give them more damage.
Give more
Like I'm
damage.
trying to think of like a situation where they nerfed.
I don't know
I
any.
can't think
Like
of
I'm
a
like I'm
nerf.
sure there is, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I think if anything, they might have nerfed like specific legendary weapons damage, but it wasn't by much.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or it might be like the nerf how difficult it is to get a specific type of thing to spawn.
Yeah,
I mean,
like I think
yeah,
they
like-
buffed the drop rate for legendary weapons too.
Yeah. Oh, but that's a buff. Yeah, that's a buff.
That's
yeah,
a
even
buff,
that is
yeah.
buff. So yeah, it's yeah. But yeah, nerfing is always a funny conversation.
Like I don't
Uh,
have an issue with the nerf as long as it's like within good reason, and it's like we tried these other things and they didn't work. But like again with the Armored Core situation as an example, they didn't really tell us much. They just said we're nerfing it because people are having a hard time. Essentially, is what it was.
mm.
Which is like get over it.
Yeah.
That's
You would
where
have
I'm
liked
at.
more information.
Yeah, I mean, if they gave more information, we might have like the community might have been more okay with it and didn't deal with it. Because I remember they got a lot of like not necessarily backlash, but a lot of criticism for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's always the difficult part with like how much the developer or even the just anybody that has to do with the game, how much they actually interact with the general audience is always a hard balance to find. Like how much do you really want to tell people, and how much are you holding back?
Yeah.
I think for that these two, the retention and entry and then the community reception and gatekeeping, we can probably put those together.
Yeah.
To that point I made earlier, the biggest retention rate in any genre is obviously first person shooters. But that's only because the entry is so simple.
Is it
it's-
more than sports games?
It's
by
more
any
than
chance?
sports games.
It's more than sports games.
Wow.
If I can remember the data that I don't even want to pull it up because I don't want some weirdness to crash. But if I can remember across all the platforms and people that play games, there is a like 500 or 450 million concurrent FPS players.
God damn.
So like compared to like the 40 million concurrent fighting game players.
Yeah.
So it's not even it's not even close to how many people are like constantly playing these games. But that's again like you're talking about a worldwide conversation. How many people are playing COD? How many people are playing Destiny? How many people are playing Apex? How many people are playing CS:GO? Like it's when you think about how easy it is just to say like I've played CS:GO so I can go play COD. I played COD so I can go play Apex. I played Apex so I can go play Destiny. But then you say like I play Tekken, can I go play Mortal Kombat?
The answer is yes,
I mean,
because most Tekken players,
you,
I'm not gonna say
you-
most,
you-
some Tekken players that I know go between both.
I mean, you could, but again, that's the conversation of like you risk losing that group in that translation by saying
Yeah.
like you've been playing this, go try this now, and it's like, but now this one's 3D. Now this one's 2D. Now this one has like air attacks and air dash. Now this one has dedicated blocking it. Like it's just, I think the features within each fighting game, being unique to that game is also what keeps players outside of playing most games. Because it's not a universal conversation like it is for shooters. I don't know what type of answer there is to that. I'm working on that though, as we've discussed. But we'll see what happens. Um, and I guess for the yeah, I guess even for community reception, that still just goes down to what people find easy to get into.
Pretty
Oh, I see
much.
a question on here
'Cause-
about are traditional players welcoming?
I think
I
they
really,
like
I
to think
really
themselves
want
they
to,
are.
huh?
The answer is
I,
no.
I
I would
really
like,
want to say yes,
yeah,
No,
that's
the
what I'm
answer is
but
saying.
definitely
but
no.
I know
They
the
like to think
answer.
that they are.
Yeah,
No,
but
no, not at
I,
all.
the answer just seems to be no sometimes.
Like it's
I think it
it
really depends on
It,
who you're running
yeah,
into.
it
Because
also depends on
I
who you're talking to.
like,
Because there are some top players I talk to that are actually nice, and there
yeah,
are some that just won't give you the time of day.
yeah, they have
What do you
yeah.
think
huge
the ratio
egos
is
and
to that?
stuff. I want to say
50-50.
at least
50-50?
for me, I've interacted with more higher level players or people in the community that go to tournaments friendlier than like not friendly. Like I will say like I've even met Anakin, who's a pro player with Red Bull for Tekken 8. Guy was super chill. I introduced myself to him. He introduced himself to me. We gave it a good talk. We were talking for a little bit, and then his pool started, and then he just said, "Hey, I'll see you later. Hopefully, we get to play." And then that was it. Super chill dude.
Yeah.
Always will be willing if you're just as long as you're respectful. He'll always give you the time of day. But as an example, Jeremy, and this wasn't even me directly. Jeremy was trying to. I'm not gonna say the guy's name. He was trying to reach out to somebody, trying to get some like plays with him because he wanted to play against him. Guy quickly looked over, and before Jeremy could even finish talking, he'd already turned around and kept walking. So like it's really just a toss up on who you're running into and the type of person they are.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing where I say no off rip because to the point you made earlier, that fighting games is like an ego check. If you're really good, like especially given the size of the community compared to something like a shooter community, like when you see the people that do the shooters and like play like first person shooters, a lot of those are very cocky individuals. They have a very I'm Himothy conversation.
Yeah.
And that's in a large pool.
Mhm.
So then you shrink it down to think about the majority of those retention numbers are mainly people who believe that they are Himothy. Like you get a couple of people that are like, oh yeah, dude, it's just a fun game, man. We're just doing stuff. Like there's a guy called Super um, on YouTube that I
Mortal
watch from
Kombat
time to
player.
time. Yeah, the Mortal
I
Kombat
know
guy. Like
exactly who he is. Yeah. Super chill
I'm
guy.
like, okay, yeah, super chill. He's just enjoying himself, beating people left and right, loses to. It's like, ah, man, whatever. It's fun. But I think those are people who still attach the game to being fun. And when you get at a higher level, and especially in fighting games with how much tension it is to win, it's very difficult to maintain fun at that level. Like it's hard to go in and say like, oh, I lost to this Sub-Zero, but I know it's because like I'm upset with myself. Like I messed it up. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. Like man, I'm about to go home and like hit something. Like it's very easy to get caught up in upset at the game and like the entirety of it than just being looking like, ah man, you got it. All right, cool. I'll be back next year. Like that's very difficult to find. So
I
I
think
can't even remember what game it was. I think it was Dragon Ball. I was playing Dragon Ball in a Discord with somebody, and I think I lost. He's like, "Bro, get out of my lobby! Like, why are you even touching my game? Uninstall!" And I was just like,
Yeah, like
yes.
Jesus Christ.
I'm like,
Yeah,
yo.
no, see, like if I like add up all my experiences with like the community at the higher level, like in Discord or in person, including pro players, I want to say 85% have been like super welcoming and nice, and then 15% are just like fucking assholes. And again, that's any community, so I
Yeah.
would say yes, but like again, like it could go really dark for somebody joining the scene for the first time and they just get unlucky and run into that one person and it's then
Yeah.
ruined for everything else. So, I would say yes, but again, it's case by case. You could just run into the wrong person and like we can sit here and tell you like, "Hey man, that's not the norm," but like how would you believe us, right? That was your first time interacting with them.
Yeah.
So, it's a toss up for sure.
Yep.
Especially I think in any competitive gaming setting, it's a toss up no matter what genre you're in. Man, you could be in competitive DDR and you're gonna run into an asshole. So it's just kind of how it goes, you know.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Pretty much. By the way, this is just a little thingy here as well. A fighting game people normally don't mention is For Honor. I think, and again, I get it. You know, it's not the traditional. I get it. Yeah, very well. However, I think more games should take the For Honor route of find a unique way to make a statement of what a fighting game can be, rather than taking the existing formula and then just adding layers. Because then that just confuses people what the product is supposed to be, which is what we're running into with most of these games.
So I decided
So,
to do a little bit of research. Sorry to cut you off.
oh, you good?
While we were doing this, and so
Mhm.
I got like a rough weekly estimate for like some of the major games, and this is even including Brawlhalla, which is like a popular free-to-play platformer fighter on Steam.
Yep.
And so, roughly over the last week, we've had 617,000 fighting game players that play consistently. So less than a million, at least
Less
in
than a
recent
mil.
times.
Yeah, and that's again probably the combination of like Steam open source, but doesn't bring into consoles or phone
Yeah,
games
that's
or
not
whatever.
including
But
any console or anything like that. It's just pure PC.
yeah, just pure PC. Which again, that's
It's not even the
yeah,
majority of the player base.
no. So yeah, it's a funny market, and I don't even think Nintendo releases their information.
They never do.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
never
they
do.
never do.
They stingy like that, but that's okay. We love you, Nintendo.
We don't, but here we are.
I don't know. Is that a Switch back there? I don't know. I
No,
feel
it's
like it's a
actually
Switch
not.
back there.
Where? You can look
I
around. There ain't
see.
no Switch.
Oh, I thought the blue thing was a Switch
Oh
thing.
no, that's like a little holder for my tablet when I'm in bed.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah. I haven't used it in a while, so I've been using my pillow. So I guess we'll kind of cut it off there. We've been going on for a little bit. So to kind of just at the end of the day, what do you guys think? Do you guys think it's done more good than harm, or do you think that none of those players that have been brought in by the accessibilities are even sticking around?
Good than harm is crazy. I think from a development standpoint, is done more good than harm. From a player standpoint, I don't think it's been more good than harm.
No.
Because again, it's like taking somebody's like favorite thing and then just mangling it
Yeah.
to appeal to somebody who's gonna show up to the door like for like maybe 10 minutes and then leave. And it's just I don't think it's necessarily fair to the people. And again, that's why I make the example for like Destiny being different from Halo. Like people knew exactly what they were going for Destiny, and those who were intrigued showed up versus them saying like, "This is the new Halo, but we have Destiny in Halo."
Right.
The people are looking like it's not Halo. Like what are we doing here? Like this isn't what we've signed up for.
I guess
So
another way to phrase
yeah.
it as well is like, as I mean, Daquan, you kind of have some interest in fighting games. You just don't play them very much. And then Chris, you don't like them at all very much. Does this accessibility even give you any interest to try these games? Because this is realistically, y'all are the target audience. People that are not in fighting games to try to play them.
I mean,
I
yeah,
was. Oh, you
sorry.
good?
I was gonna say, yeah, like if you go ahead and tell me like, hey, there's this game that comes out and it has this feature that helps you play it a lot easier right off the bat, I'd be more willing to do that than, hey, you got to beat your head up against the wall, and then maybe you'll have fun eventually.
Yeah. Something like Dragon Ball and For Honor, and even like the path Mortal Kombat has taken, those have helped me get into more playing the fighting games. Even stuff like the game Absolver, which is still one of my favorite games of all time. Most people have not played, but it is one of the best fighting games ever put together. I think simplification of actions doesn't have to mean easy necessarily. I think the way that some of these things have been translated have been done well, which are like the games I mentioned. But there are a lot of times I think they just have not, and those have not helped me get into them.
Okay.
So, it's a very big hit or miss.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's pretty hit and miss for these games nowadays, whether or not the accessibility
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Pretty much.
Because like I know Chris, like we can say he's more interested, but I also know he's not gonna pick
He
one
ain't
up.
touching it. He's like, I'm not touching
He's like,
it.
yeah, I'm more interested than if I was gonna beat my head in, but I'm still not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it could just be because maybe we're too involved and I'm looking at it from way too close, and maybe it's actually like the greater community is actually enjoying it, blah blah. So who knows? I don't know. I don't have that information. This is just my opinion from
Not
the
yet.
the ground floor.
We don't have that information yet.
Yet.
Yeah, just yet.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll go ahead and cut it off there. We've already been going on for a little bit. Tune in with us next week. It'll still be probably fighting game related. Who fucking knows over what though? Later.
Peace.
Peace.